Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AF4322 Management of Financial Institutions class. I'm Dr. Lilian Jiang. I'm the Associate Professor from the School of Accounting and Finance, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. My main research area is banking and financial institutions. So for this class, I have been teaching it for a few years. In this course, students will gain knowledge on banking regulations and major banking laws. We will conduct performance assessment of financial institutions through learning the financial statement of banks. We will also spend lots of time to learn risk management models and risk management tools. Other than that, we will also talk about the management and the pricing of bank deposit services, the management of bank capital, and bank lending policies. So now I would like to talk about Chapter 2 on our textbook, the impact of government policy and regulation on the financial services industry. The key topics covered in this chapter include the following. We will first talk about existing arguments for strict banking regulation rules and the reasons for bank regulation. Then I will introduce you several major financial service regulation and laws, such as the Banking Act of 1933, the Glass-Steagall Act, and the Reagan-New Interstate Banking Deregulation, the Gramm-Leach-Bolili Acts, and other laws. We will also talk about the Basel Accord. Following that, we will discuss several regulatory agencies in the world, including the Federal Reserve System, the People's Bank of China, and the Hong Kong Monetary Authority. At the end, we will discuss the key regulatory issues left unresolved. I hope through learning this chapter, students can not only gain the knowledge of the historical development of regulation, understand the current regulation rules in the banking industry, but more importantly, students should develop the critical thinking skills to evaluate different banking regulation laws and rules. For example, towards the end of the semester, students will be required to form groups to do group presentation. And I hope you can express your own views during the presentation on the impact of banking regulations on bank stability, bank performance, or the overall economic development, etc. So here, I would like to start this chapter with the famous quote by Thomas Jefferson, who is the third president of the United States, as you may know, who is also the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. So he once said, I sincerely believe that banking establishments are more dangerous than standing armies. I think what he said reflects some people's fear towards financial institutions, especially large financial institutions. These people are intimidated by the power and influence, these giant institutions seem to possess. If we recall the last financial crisis, for example, which was the worst U.S. economic disaster since the Great Depression, in the United States, the stock market plummeted, wiping out nearly $8 trillion and the unemployment rate peaked to as high as 10%. Also, this economic crisis started in the United States, but spread to the rest of the world. Therefore, because of these fears or concerns, a complex web of laws and regulations have emerged. And this is why we want to spend time to study this chapter. So here in today's class, we want to be devoted to a study of the complex regulatory environment that governments around the world have created for financial service firms in an effort to safeguard the public's savings, to bring stability to the financial system, and to prevent abuse of financial service customers. Here, I would like you to think about two questions. Okay, so first, why are banks closely regulated more than most other firms? Second, what key areas or functions of a bank or other financial firms are regulated today? Here, I want to talk about the second question first. What key areas or functions of a bank or other financial firm are regulated today? I provide a list, but you should know that banks regulation does not limit to this list. So number one, banks are regulated for their adequacy of the capital. Second, the quality of the bank loans and security investments. Third, liquidity position. Fourth, fundraising options. And next, services offered. And also banks are regulated for its ability to expand through branching and formation of holding companies. So these are the key areas or functions that banks are regulated. So as you know, financial institutions must contend with some of the heaviest and most comprehensive rules applied to any industry. But to some people, regulation is an ugly word. It means burdensome, costly, or even damaging to innovation and efficiency. Therefore, there's always a lot of debate on how banks should be regulated. Here, to encourage further thought concerning the process of regulatory governance, we can use an analogy between the regulation of banks and the experience of young kids. For example, let's think about, we were all children, teenagers, before growing physically, mentally, and emotionally into adults. And as children or teenagers, we want to have fun. However, we all know we have to pursue this objective with the constraints set by our parents. Of course, some kids have lenient parents, but some do not. Financial firms like to maximize their shareholders' wealth. So you can consider shareholders are having fun when they are making money. However, here they must operate with the constraint imposed by regulators. In other words, you can consider banks as the kids with the strictest parents on the block. And also, because of the rules and these regulations are always keep changing, it is important for us to keep updated with all of these rules. Next, I want to come to this key question. So why banks are closely regulated? First, banks are among the leading repositories of the public's savings. The loss of these funds due to bank failures or crime would be catastrophic to many individuals or families. Therefore, regulatory agencies have the responsibility of gathering and evaluating the information needed to assess the true condition of banks. Second, banks are closely watched because of their power to create money in the form of readily spendable deposits by making loans and investments. So changes in the volume of money created by banks are closely correlated with economic conditions, especially the job creation and the presence or absence of inflation. So this is why banks need to be closely watched. Third, banks and their closest competitors can provide individuals and businesses with loans that support consumption and investment spending. So banks shouldn't discriminate in granting credit due to age, sex, race, or country origin, or other irrelevant factors. Here, governments should work hard to eliminate such discrimination. So next, I want to introduce several major financial service regulations and laws. I will stop it here for today. Thank you for watching.